Hello friends, Tal here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the latest Legion beta build. This was the beta build that came out on the 2nd of June, which is a Thursday. Most of these Legion beta builds come out on Thursday. And affectionately, I'm going to dub this the Great Talent Switcheroo build. Essentially, one of the biggest things that they did in this build was they not only changed a bunch of the talents for the different classes, but they also reordered them. Okay, they did this for a lot of specs, not just the tanks. This is a kind of a big class-wide thing, and some classes didn't get any switches at all. Like, for example, Death Knights had all their talents changed around in one of the data mining, but they said that that was from a prior build, something that didn't actually go through. What does this mean? It means that potentially we're going to have another talent switch up a little bit down the line, maybe next week. For example, Brewmasters didn't get any changes to the talents. Maybe next week they will have their switcheroo, as they've been very much focusing down on certain specs and classes and then moving on to the other ones, being very focused in their approach recently as far as tuning and balancing has gone. But anyways, let's go over some of the changes real quick. I'm going to show you, of course, we're only talking about tanks here. I'm going to show you Protection Paladin, Guardian Druid, and Vengeance Demon Hunter because they are the ones that had the switcheroos happen. And we're just going to go very briefly over the other noticeable things that I can talk about here in the build. So, as far as that goes, Demon Hunter, Vengeance Demon Hunter has a bunch of new talents, a bunch of changed talents, and some talents removed. Overall, I love the direction they're taking Vengeance right now. We're gonna get into it when we actually talk about the individual talents, but they have so much more choices now, competitive choices, interesting choices, things that make me excited. I'm sure that you guys have noticed by now. I'm in love with Vengeance. Okay, I hated it when it came out. It was an awful, terrible spec because it had about three things going for it. But they've iterated on it and honestly made it something I'm in love with right now. But we'll talk about that specifically once we get into the actual talents and I show you the tree. Of note here is they did nerf Emulation Aura. Um, the damage, the initial damage, and then the damage that it does around you. They nerfed it because that stacking with the artifact trait that gives you the healing for the fire damage was getting a little ridiculous, but they nerfed it. It's still fantastic, but just letting you guys know the power of that was toned down a little bit. Brand of the Hunt was removed. It's no longer in the Vengeance Demon Hunter trait. Not trait, but talent tree. Etched in Blood was also removed, so you'll no longer be able to reduce the cooldown on your sigils every 20 pain. I believe the legendary still exists though, so you should be able to have a different way of reducing the cooldown on sigils. Which again, because they're one of the only two specs in the entire game that has mass grip with their sigils, it's going to be pretty good. As well, they removed Sigil of Misery, which was causing a disorient. It's the purple sigil. They removed that from the talent tree, but they added it in to baseline Vengeance Demon Hunter specs. So now Vengeance Demon Hunters have 5 sigils. They have Sigil of Flames, which is your rotational AoE fire damage sigil. They have Sigil of Change, which is the yellow one. That's the Death Grip effect. Sigil of Silence, I want to say, but that sounds too obvious. But it's the one that silences a group around them. It's the blue one. And then they have 4 sigils. Sorry, not 5, 4. And they have Sigil of Misery, which is the purple one that disorients a group of enemies for 30 seconds. So they just got that sigil added to them. They have a host of new talents, but I think those are the only ones that they went ahead and outright removed, as well as changing. Let's see right here. They changed razor spikes so that they added in the 20% increased physical damage again that I had made a video about and complained about a little bit a while ago, back to razor spikes. So now it's not only snaring, it's also going to be a competitive single target DPS increase. But we'll talk about that again once I actually get into it. Now, they changed Soul Barrier into making it a very interesting cooldown. You shield yourself for 8 seconds, absorbing a set amount of health, a set amount of damage, but also increased by consuming all the soul fragments around you. So this will consume all the soul fragments around you, and it is going to basically give you a big meaty shield for it. But then the shield has a certain number that it won't drop under. I'll see if it maybe the tooltip makes more sense in the actual Wowhead talent calculator. But essentially, you give yourself a big shield that's amplified by all the soul fragments around you. It has a 20-second cooldown, consumes I think about 40 pain. The tooltip right there for 300 pain is obviously wrong, but it's looking pretty amazing. And then Spirit Bomb was also changed so that when targets are frail, it's actually going to be in healing you for 5% of all damage to you deal to enemies or frail. Making Spirit Bomb, again, another awesome choice, giving you those choices with the soul fragments. If I haven't said it 1,000 times, I'll say it 1,001 times. Vengeance Demon Hunters have the choice to spend their resources on damage, to spend their resources on straight up healing, to spend their resources on shielding themselves. They can spend their resources on what the most important thing is in that moment. You need a big fat meaty shield, boom, shield. You need to be healed up because you're at like 40% health, heal yourself. You need to just do damage because the shit needs to die right now and you don't need healing, kill the thing. Fantastic. I can't gush about this spec more than I currently am. And they have utility. Fantastic. So Blood DKs, they have a bunch of changes here, but none of them actually happened. These are changes that did not go through. These are data mining errors, and something that actually Celestin went ahead and said that it says it should be shuffled around, but they're not actually shuffled around. They were testing something out, and they went back to the previous version of it. Guardian Druids also had some of their talents switch around, not nearly as much as the Vengeance Demon Hunter, and the only real noticeable thing to say is that, let's see, no, yeah, nothing too big as far as number changes, damage, anything like that. So let's go ahead and go down a little bit into Monks. Monks, nothing happened. Rip Monks, I feel so bad. It feels bad playing it, guys, but you'll see that dungeon run soon. As far as Protection Paladins, they had some talent switcheroos. Nothing else too crazy happened to them. And then Warriors, as far as I'm able to tell, they nerfed Bladestorm. Okay, but I don't think Protection Warriors even have access to Bladestorm, so that's not a big deal. But Protection specific, they didn't do much besides nerf. Let's see, where is it? I know it's here somewhere. Okay, Neltharian's Fury. It just does less damage now, which is fine. Again, what I like about that artifact ability is the critical blocking that it does. So that's fine. I'm okay with it being the damage being a little bit reduced. But let's go ahead and get into it. So Vengeance Demon Hunters. Let me just reset this, make sure it's all good. Wildhead has some issues sometimes for me. But Demon Hunters. So the first talent here is Abyssal Strike. The range increased by 10 yards, the cooldown reduced by 5 seconds. Okay, pretty nice, pretty standard. Agonizing Flames. Emulation Aura increases your move speed, and it deals 50%, not 100% increased damage. So they nerfed that a little bit to bring it more in line, as well as nerfing Emulation Aura baseline. And then you have Razor Spikes, which when Demon Spikes is active, you deal 20% increased physical damage, and your melee attacks near targets by 50% for 6 seconds. So what I'm seeing here is this is the physical target, you know, not the physical target, but the single target damage. Okay, this is if you're trying to kill a very specific single target boss fight, or you're trying to kill a specific thing, you want to have more control over when you're bursting for more damage, you take Razor Spikes. This is an AoE talent. This is basically just if you're going to be doing a lot of AoE, you're pumping Emulation Aura, not so much for the pain generation, but because you want that single target boost, that multi-target boost, you go ahead and use this. And then Abyssal Strike by itself isn't too great, but it actually does synergize well with other talents. We're going to go ahead and get into that. At 100, you have Feast of Souls. Soul Cleave heals you for an additional amount of health over 6 seconds when it heals. But then you have Fallout. Emulation Aura's initial burst has a chance to shatter lesser soul fragments from enemies. Now, on a single target encounter, I don't know how worthwhile this will be. I don't actually know the proc rate, but as I was doing a little bit of testing when I was on the beta yesterday, I popped it in a group of 5 enemies, and I was getting anywhere between 3 to 5 soul fragments per Emulation Aura. It's ridiculous. It's mind-blowing, actually. It's fantastic. I love this ability. It's giving you more control over your soul fragments, more generation. Soul fragments, again, is the big thing to keep in mind when you're talking about Vengeance Demon Hunters, because they have so many interactions and uses for them. Fantastic. It's not like a Blood DK that only has one use for their runic power, Death Strike. No, they can use their soul fragments to heal, to shield, to do damage, to do crazy shit. Fantastic. And then you have Burning Alive. Every 2 seconds, your fiery brand deals a certain amount of damage, and it spreads to the primary targets and the nearby enemy. So what does this mean? Burning Alive is, again, a very much AoE-focused talent in that it's going to be letting your fiery brand spread and reduce the damage of everything around you, as well as doing more fire damage, doing more healing. The only problem is, from what I've seen, when you spread fiery brand, it doesn't actually spread at the current the current duration. So it's not like you'll have burning fiery brand up on every single target for the full duration. No, it gets spread and does less damage to you because it's spreading through all the enemies, but it's not going to like stay up indefinitely. Fallout I think is fantastic. And Feast of Souls is just giving you that additional healing. So if you just need more healing every time you soul cleave, because that's how much damage you're taking, I can see that being a good choice. This is a good AoE, just constant, just damaging and getting more soul fragments. Burning Alive, I think, is the odd man out. You probably wouldn't take this as much, but I definitely do like the other two. And then you have 102, the difficult tier. I think is what, no, actually, it's 104. That's a difficult tier. Sorry. 102, you have Fellblade. Still does its fantastic thing. You charge, you deal fire damage, and when it generates you 20 pain, and Sheer has a chance to reset the cooldown. I've heard, and I have to say heard because, god damn it, I still have to level my Vengeance Demon Hunter on beta. I didn't want to level it, but the more that I play the Vengeance, the more I am falling in love with it, and I have to get my hands on it now. So, Fellblade, still fantastic ability. I would almost say that Havoc and Vengeance feels like when you don't have it, it feels empty. Fellblade is just that good. It's fantastic. And then it also competes on the tier with Flame Crash, which Infernal Strike creates a sigil of flame when you land. Holy shit. If you take Abyssal Strike, let's see. That's going to be reducing the cooldown by 5 seconds, allowing you to use your Sigil of Flames more often. Sigil of Flame, as it stands, has a 30-second cooldown, I believe. So you get so many... Actually, I don't have to say I believe. I can find that out. Yeah. It's 30-second cooldown. So you can have Sigils of Flame all over the place. And remember, with that artifact trait, I think it's Charred Warblades, but I'm not sure. You get a bunch of healing from it. So that's crazy amazing too. And that's some good AoE damage. Then you have Gluttony, which consuming soul fragments increases the damage of your next soul cleave by 10%, stacking up to 5 times. So this tier, the way I think about it is, this gives you a more single target sustained fire damage, but also pain generation, so more consistent pain generation, single target only. This gives you a shit ton of fire AoE damage because you're going to be weaving in your Infernal Strikes to give more Sigils of Flame. And then this makes your healing, this is more of a soul fragment focused build because as you're getting more soul fragments, if you take all the options that give you more soul fragments, you're going to be getting more and more damage on your soul cleave. Fantastic. I love these choices. 104 is the difficult choice because it has Feed the Demon, which consuming a soul fragment reduces the remaining cooldown on demon spikes by 1 second. It's fantastic. It's actually a staple for most of the Vengeance Demon Hunter builds that have been going on in beta. But it also has Fracture, and that's another staple of the Demon Hunter beta builds that have been going on. Fracture costs 40 pain, not 400. It costs 40 pain, and it makes 2 lesser soul fragments from it. You don't always need to heal from Soul Cleave, and you don't always want to use up all... If you've been, doing your rotation, and for some reason you only have 1 soul fragment off to the side, you don't want to waste it. You want to build it for a big moment. Fracture is good because it gives you that choice of using the pain to just make more soul fragments, not necessarily heal and not consume them, which is fantastic because it's more control. And then you have Soul Rending, which you gain 50% leech while Metamorphosis is active. Fucking powerful, okay? Metamorphosis already is a very tanky cooldown, but you have a chance to pop into Metamorphosis every time you consume a soul fragment. Having 50% leech when that happens every single time, and along with the increased pain generation and increased health, that's a fucking powerful thing that can happen. So this tier right here has so many different difficult choices because you want all of them. I want to reduce the cooldown on Demon Spikes. I want Fracture to have more control. And I want Soul Rending because I want to make sure that when I pop into Metamorphosis randomly and when I use it on purpose, I'm making sure that I'm topped off in health. All fantastic choices, all difficult choices. Probably the best tier out of this entire thing. It's difficult for me to even tell you right now when I want either one because they're all so good. But I can very easily see Fracture being more for the Soul Fragment build, where if you're making just a shit ton of Soul Fragments, you want more control, you want to be able to do stuff with it, you go ahead and take that. Soul Rending just making you more tanky, probably the more progression-oriented choice. And then Feed the Demon being very specifically for when you're either taking Razor Spikes or for a physical damage encounter. Fantastic tier. 106, you have Concentrated Sigils. All sigils are targeted at your location, and the duration of their effects is increased by 2 seconds. Okay, that's all right. It's not a big deal. I think one of the strengths of the sigils is that you can actually target it in areas. So taking that away kind of feels bad. But I think it's nice that you don't have to have that extra second of having to target an area and then use it. You just pop it and let it go. Fell Eruption is also pretty good. It's just going to cost your pain. It's going to do stunning them, and it inflicts additional damage against targets that are permanently immune to stuns. I don't know if they've actually increased the damage enough to make it worthwhile. I believe in the past, or at least a couple beta builds ago, people mathed out that it wasn't actually worth the pain cost, it was actually better to do like Soul Cleave or Fracture than it was to use the Pain on Fel Eruption. But it's nice that we have an option for a stun, especially with the fact that it's a ranged stun and it can do extra damage to bosses and such. But then you have Quicken Sigils, which just sigils activate 1 second faster and their rage is increased by 10 seconds. So a CC tier, very much like the previous CC tier that I was talking about, but I actually feel like all of these are useful. I want to be able to stun things randomly. I want to be able to, if I can't stun it, do more damage to it. I want to be able to have my sigils go faster and have a bigger range. Maybe, but probably not likely. I want to have sigils activate under me. Probably not often, but you know, it might happen at some point, or the duration being increased by 2 seconds might be good. Good tier as well. Then you have Fel Devastation, which is basically I-Beam, but for Vengeance Demon Hunters. I think the animation just changed, though. It's a 1 minute cooldown. It causes a lot of chaos damage, but it also, fire damage, but it also heals you for a decent amount of damage, which, again, is feeding into that whole fire damage heals you. But this is literally a spell that does damage and heal you, which, of course, is going to double dip because your fire damage will also heal you. Pretty cool spell. Pretty amazing to have. Nice little cooldown to burst. But then you have Blade Turning. Now this, okay. They just changed this. Blade Turning was just changed last build. And if you saw my Vengeance Demon Hunter dungeon run, I fucking love that goddamn talent. It's fantastic. It makes pain generation just shoot up into the sky, and it feels great. It was changed from only you activating during razors or demon spikes. Now it's just when you parry an attack, it increases the pain generation next year. It's an overall buff because obviously you don't have to use your active mitigation cooldown to use it, and you're going to be parrying randomly. But when you do use the demon spikes, obviously your parry goes up. You're going to be getting procs more often. But it hurts my heart because it's also on the same tier as Spirit Bomb. Spirit Bomb, you launch a fragment at an enemy, you do damage to them, and it's going to make them frail, and you heal for 5% of all damage due to enemies of frailty. Fuck my life, Blizzard. Fuck you guys for making another amazing talent tier of all choices I want. Okay, Demon Hunters already have that synergy where they heal for damage they do with fire. A lot of their abilities do fire damage. Then you're going to give me an ability that interacts with soul fragments, which I'm already crazy about, and you're going to make me heal for more with fire damage with everything that I'm doing, constantly having to keep up that buff on myself so I can heal. You're going to make me want to take Blade Turning because I want more pain generation so I can use more abilities, but then I also kind of want that huge explosion of fire magic damage that just heals me as well. Fuck you guys for making this another very difficult choice. So already you can see, and I hope that my excitement, my positivity kind of goes through this and is applied to you guys. I'm not saying Vengeance Demon Hunter is the best yet. I have to play with it a little more. Druids got nerfed a little bit more, but I'm really just starting to think that I have to play a Vengeance Demon Hunter because I can picture in my mind all the situations I would want this in WoD now, and I can't even begin to imagine all the situations in Legion that I'm going to be able to use these abilities and just be fantastic. I'm falling in love, guys. But 108 and the 104 tier, fantastic tiers. Both of them great. And then at 110, we haven't even reached the end stuff. 110, you get Last Resort, which is, what's it called? Purgatory, but for Vengeance. So when they sustain fatal damage, you turn into Metamorphosis instead. You go to 30% health, and it can happen every 3 minutes. It's basically a save my ass ability. It competes with Nether Bond, which is going to share the health of you and your target. It's basically the tank ring from WoD right now. You can use it as a tank cooldown. You can use it to save a fellow squishy. You can use it to soak a very specific mechanic when you pop your abilities and you're at high health and you can help them soak that thing that maybe you need 4 raid members to do. Maybe with this ability you only need you and the other person. Fantastic as well. And then Soul Barrier, which is brand new. I already talked about it a little bit. 20-second cooldown. It's Super Guard. Vengeance Demon Hunters have Heroic Leap. They have the healing from damage that Blood DKs have. They have the utility that can rival a Bear Druid. And they have Purgatory or Guard or Tank Legendary from WoD. Come on. Come on. How can you not fall in love with this? Maybe they need a little bit of a change or a nerf because it feels like they get all the options. But god damn it. Hero class. My hero. I want to be this class. But that's the changes for the Vengeance Demon Hunter. Overall, positive in my opinion. They're all very good in certain situations. I can't look at this tree and think of a talent that I just would never take. Even Abyssal Strike, I can see situations when I want to spam the flame crashes. Burning Alive, some situations, admittedly not as much as others, but I can see myself taking Burn Alive in some situations. Concentrated Sigils, maybe never, but maybe if I just want to be really lazy about it, I don't want to have to think about it, I just want to use it real quick, I could use that. But all of these, I've never felt this way before, guys. I've never had an entire talent tree where I'm just like, everything is good. I've never felt that way in WoW. I've never had a situation where every single talent is fantastic in a certain point. I'm excited. I'm excited. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. I've gushed enough about Vengeance Demon Hunters. I'm sorry for everyone that watches my stuff that doesn't like them. You're just gonna have to deal with it. I'm so sorry. But Guardian Druids. So what they did for Guardian Druids is they switched the locations of, very specifically, Pulverize and Bristling Fur. So what are the changes they did do? Brambles is still going to basically be doing some damage when things are hitting you. Bristling Fur is still going to cause you to generate rage based on damage that you take for 8 seconds. Blood Frenzy still working off Thrash. One thing that I do want to mention is I think it's good that they moved Pulverize to the bottom tier because it was competing with Rend and Tear and Blood Frenzy. Pulverize directly takes your Thrash stacks, making Blood Frenzy kind of pointless, or I should say Pulverize being here was good because it didn't compete with Blood Frenzy, because obviously you don't want to take both of them, but they moved it down here, so now instead of competing with Rend and Tear and Pulverize, now it's Blood Frenzy and Pulverize. It's just something to keep in mind if you do pick up both of these talents, that this is working off Thrash and this takes in Thrash. Besides that, not too many other changes. The affinities weren't changed, besides giving you more energy regeneration when you're in cat form. These weren't changed. Galactic Guardian got fixed. Fucking called it, as long with everyone else in the community. 50% is not the correct thing. It's supposed to be 5%, so this tooltip error is wrong, but Galactic Guardian's been changed to do a 5% chance to proc, which is normal, which is nice, which is actually realistic now, so we can actually have a good time testing it. I like Incarnation, but I know that it's not always been the best ability. Admittedly, it's not always been the actual go-to. This provides a much more consistent, bursty source of rage versus just being a big cooldown that you use when you're trying to keep yourself alive. I do like this. I'm probably going to take it every once in a while. But beyond that, nothing much has changed. Rend and Tear is still Thrash, increases your damage dealt to the target, reduces your damage taken from the target by 2% for application of Thrash. Polarize is still fantastic. I only don't like this tier because I could see myself wanting Lunar Beam because I like self-healing in my tanks. I know that's not the point of Guardian Druids, really. They have a lot of other sustain outside of healing themselves until they get the artifact trait and the legendary that increases frenzied region healing. But I like Lunar Beam just for healing myself. But it's hard to argue with a constant 8%, damage reduction on everything in Pulverize. But that's the change there for the Bears. And then as far as Protection Paladin, what they got changed was 15 tier has Bastion of Light, which gives you the 3 charges Shield of Righteous. And I think the only change that happened was they switched the position of Bastion of Light and Last Defender, which reduces the amount of damage you take by 3% for all enemies around you with diminishing returns. They changed it from 15 to 100, so they switched both of those. They did some more stuff, though. If I remember right, they actually changed Consecrated Hammer and Crusader's Judgment so that they flip both of those. So you can't have infinite Blessed Hammer spam. So this is just going to make Judgment trigger off Grand Crusader. And now on the 30 tier, you have to choose between Blessed Hammer, which is going to be doing, it's going to make the enemy's next auto attack do 15% less damage. But it's now no longer going to be able to stack with Hammer of the Righteous, has no cooldown. Before, you basically started throwing out hammers, Blessed Hammers, all day, every day for free, as many times as you wanted. That interaction has been taken away. It's interesting. I'm going to be very interested to see how that plays out in my dungeon run. Of course. That being said, Blood DK is going to get any change, so I don't have to do a dungeon run for them again. Vengeance Demon Hunters, I'm going to try to level my Vengeance Demon Hunter up to 110 and do a dungeon run with it. I don't know for sure if that's going to happen. I'm trying really hard to hold back because I know I'm going to have to no-life Legion when it comes out. I don't think I need to do another dungeon run for the Guardian Druid. I think I made my point with them pretty clear. Nothing too crazy, but I'm happy that the Paladin one specifically got changed before I did a dungeon run because I feel like that's a very big interaction that I'd have to test out. Beyond that, I don't see anything else being really changed. Hand of the Protector got moved down here. It's going to just heal something for 25% of the missing health instead of the 15 for yourself. You can actually use it on other people as well, and yourself just does more. Final Stand was changed here. Clearly, I don't remember what was where, because I keep saying that things swap positions even though it didn't. Final Stand used to be at the very end. and it's just going to cause you to ton everything when you Divine Shield. But as far as that goes, I don't think anything else got changed besides the fact that Righteous Protector is going to reduce the cooldown on Light of the Protector and Avenging Wrath every time you do Shield the Righteous, which is pretty cool. Gives you that extra interaction with Avenging Wrath. Seraphim is still the same. So yeah, overall, those have been the most noticeable changes, the things to know about the latest Legion beta build. Guys, I'm drinking that Vengeance Demon Hunter Kool-Aid, and I can't stop. I can't stop. As good as Bear is, I honestly, with these changes now, it's been slow coming, but Vengeance, I feel, is gonna be amazing. It's gonna be fantastic. But anyways, guys, I hope you liked this video. If you did, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys again in the next video. Hopefully another dungeon run coming out either today or tomorrow. See you around.